Hello, everybody. My name is Adam, and I review things. It's my goal to be the most prolific reviewer of all time. And to do that, I review books, movies, podcasts, whatever. Today, we are reviewing the film from Akira Kurosawa called Ikiru, and it was released in 1952, and the screenplay was written by Shinobi Hashimoto and Hideo Ogunu. It's inspired maybe by Tolstoy's novella The Death of Ivan Ilyich, and it stars Takashi Shimura among many other very talented actors. So, the story is about a bureaucrat who has been in his position for 30 years and discovers that he has stomach cancer. So, he feels like he hasn't been living for those 30 years, and he does various things to try and live, and he ultimately decides that if he is able to accomplish this one thing, then his life will have been, at least the last 30 years of his life will have had some meaning. So then he dies in the film about maybe three-fourths into the movie. He dies, and then the last part of the film is other characters kind of reflecting on his legacy. Like, did he really matter? Was it his choice that the thing happened? And I'm kind of being vague because it's not like a secret what he does, but I think that the movie is such an enjoyable exploration of its theme that you should really watch it without any kind of details, as few details as possible from my end, because I think starting this project, I had a list of about maybe 500 movies I wanted to watch, and a lot of the movies were movies that are considered to be some of the greatest of all time. And I think that the the movies that are the best are not necessarily, for me, the movies that are considered the greatest. Like, I don't think that Sergio Leone's films, for the most part, are the greatest films of all time. But I am, maybe I wasn't surprised, but I'm happily verifying that Kurosawa's films are really good. I think that he is probably my favorite director of all time because so far I've watched three of his films, um, High and Low, Seven Samurai, and Ikiru, and they're all quite different. They're all like very different genre films. And they're genre films, but they manage to be serious, right? But serious, but not depressing and interesting because, I am a little bit younger than the main character, the main protagonist of this film, but those are issues that I deal with being that age. You think, like, okay, did I really accomplish anything at work? Did I really accomplish anything in life? And a lot of his relationships, like, he doesn't have very many relationships. He has a relationship basically with his son. And you can tell that he loves his son, but he doesn't know how to communicate with him. And he stopped being able to communicate with him, or, he forgot how. It's really, really hard for him. And I think that that's something that is so universal. And generally, there's two main themes of the film. The first theme is about bureaucracy, and the second theme is about this coming terms with your own morality. Not morality, mortality. And I think, like, people kind of really think of the first part, this critique of bureaucracy, being rather unique to Japan at the time. But no, so basically these group of women, they want to build a park, so they go to the city office, and they just get sent from one department to another department to another department to another department. But living in Poland, that's very something that happens very, very often. Maybe it doesn't happen so much anymore, but I remember going from one department to another department to another department to another department, and then you end up at the same department, and that's the department that would help you. So I think that um, it really speaks to the nature of bureaucracy, not just Japanese bureaucracy at that particular time. It's very common all around the world. But I think that kind of provides the motivation for the main character, but I don't think that the bureaucracy thing is the most important thing about the film. Because I think that he could have the you know, he feels dissatisfied because he's lived this life where nothing has happened for 30 years. And the film is saying is that's because he's a bureaucrat, but he doesn't necessarily have to be a bureaucrat for that to happen. He could work in any profession um, where he's just doing something repetitive, and then you wonder like, what's the point of what you're doing? So I think that's very kind of normal feeling to have sometimes, unfortunately. And yeah, so it's the the main actor who I mentioned before, who's playing the character. He's so great, and that is Takashi Shimura. He does such a great job of showing this kind of boring man being driven to the depths of despair and breaking because of this situation that he's in, and finding the strength in himself to put the pieces back together so he can do something, because so he can make like one last sort of noble goal for himself, and he accomplishes that noble goal, and then he dies. So I think that it's really, really great performance, and there's maybe two parts that really stick out to me. Um, he meets this author, this novelist, and the novelist and him basically go on this sort of pursuit of pleasure, because the novelist believes that pursuing pleasure is the thing that will make you, gives you a satisfying life. And so um, the character does that. He goes to a striptease, he goes to different bars, and he realizes that his life has slowly passed away for 30 years, and he sings this like really moving song about like, appreciating the moments that you have, and because they'll pass away very, very quickly. And he requests this song, and there's like a piano player, and he requests the song is sung, and the piano player is like singing the melody, and people are just like dancing to it. But he starts to sing the song very slowly and very quietly, just to himself. He's not performing or anything, but people start listening to him, and then they're like, "Oh wow, this is a moment that this guy is having. This is really, really powerful, really moving." And he's just a broken, broken man when he's singing this song. And then later, you see him after the thing that he wants to do has been accomplished, and he's singing the song, but he's singing it, he gives it such a more positive interpretation. Like, I have lived my life the way that I wanted to live it, and this is my sort of testament to that life. So, yeah, it's really, really moving and powerful. I think another thing that I like about Kurosawa's, I mean, they're not modern anymore because 1952 is not modern, but they were modern at the time. Films is that you really get to see what Japan was like only 7 years after the end of the First World War, Second World War, sorry, you have Japanese sort of like escorts who are singing this song in English badly, but they're singing it because, the Americans had been occupying the country for 7 years. And you have like a really vibrant nightlife kind of depicted. And you can see like Brazilian bands and jazz singers and all of this sort of like really exciting cultural foment. Um, and I think that maybe not me, I didn't really know that that was a thing that was happening at the time in Japan. So it's really, really interesting. And High and Low does it also another Akira Kurosawa film, does it as well because there's another part where you see the nightlife of modern Japan. But High and Low is more of a critique of classes in Japanese society, and this one is more like personal, it feels to me. And maybe it's just because I'm at that point in my life where I'm really close to what the main character is experiencing. I think that this film is better. So, of the three Kurosawa films that I've watched so far, I would say uh, Ikiru, number one, number two, High and Low, and number three, Seven Samurai. And I think that unfortunately, people tend to think of Kurosawa as a guy who did samurai films, but he did samurai films because they are important in Japanese culture. But he was trying to examine the very kind of profound and meaningful ideas about Japan, but also about human nature. And I think that's why his films work because, you know, you could set this film in any area, any period of history where people have lived unfulfilled lives, and that is every period of history. So I think that it's quite good film, great acting. Um, yeah, maybe one random thing before I finish about it is so he goes to the doctor because he has this like horrible stomach pain because he has stomach cancer and he's dying. So he goes to the doctor, and as he's in the waiting room, this guy tells him, like, you know, I have stomach cancer. If they tell you these things, that means that you have stomach cancer too, but they'll say that it's just an ulcer. So he goes into the doctor's, um, you know, clinic, the room, and the doctor basically says everything that the guy said that he would say if he has cancer, stomach cancer. So he slowly realizes that he does have stomach cancer. So he asks the doctor directly, like, tell me honestly if I have cancer. And the doctor is just like, no, 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 you don't have cancer. You have an ulcer. And I thought, like, I don't know about the ethics of that in different cultures because I could understand why you wouldn't want to tell somebody that because you basically say that you are dying and there's nothing you can do about it, there's no escape. You have 4 months basically. But on the other hand, they didn't tell his family as well. So his family, his son is like talking, having fights about these really like unimportant things in the long run. And his father is going through this sort of existential crisis because he's dying. And his father is not brave enough, unfortunately, to tell his son what's really happening. And yeah, that relationship is really also really well, really portrayed in a good, I don't know, in an accurate way, in a way that really speaks to relationships between fathers and sons, because you can see that he is so proud of his son, and you see like moments in his life where his son is playing baseball and he makes like a bad decision as a baseball player, and you can see on the main character's face that I keep saying the main character. I should actually just check what his name is. Yeah, Kanji Watanabe. Okay, the main character is easier for me to say, but so basically, you can see on his face like it's a mixture of disappointment, and he wants to be able to tell his son how he feels, but he's not able to do that. And there's another scene later where the son, like, so there's this troop train during the Second World War that's taking Japanese soldiers probably to a certain death, and they're like bonsai, 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 and you can see that the son is looking at his father, and he's like, "I'm scared." He doesn't say it, but he's like, "I'm scared. I don't want to do this," and he just says, "Dad," and the dad can't say anything, and he just hugs him, and it's so powerful and moving, you know. And Watanabe says sometime in the film, like, he's criticizing his son, and this other character says, you're criticizing your son a lot, but your son didn't turn you into a mummy, because there's a joke like he's a mummy, he doesn't do anything. Your son didn't turn you into a mummy, you turned yourself into the mummy. And he's like, yeah, yeah. So it's a complicated film, but it's a very honest film. And even though the film explores very deep issues about, you know, bureaucracy and the mortality and death, it's an enjoyable film. It's a film that's full of hope. So I think if you need to watch something hopeful, watch this film. If you want to see like a master director, watch this film. If you want to see great acting, watch this film. So I would say this is like the first film that I've reviewed for this series that I would say 10 out of 10, like 100%. I gave it 9 on IMDb, but like now that I'm thinking about it, there's no reason for the 9. It's 10 out of 10. It's a perfect film. All right, so yeah, that's my review of Ikiru. If you would like to support this review channel, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to have 150 subscribers by the end of January, and I have 121, so I think we can do it, guys. If you want to, support me in different ways, check out the Patreon. The links will be in the description of this video or the show notes for the podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.